It is member-supported Hawaii Public Radio, All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Thank you very much for joining us. Often on the show, we talk about conservation, in particular, some of the existential crises caused by Asia-Pacific consumers and their demand for critically endangered wildlife parts, driving the extinction of rhinos, elephants, pangolins, tigers, the totoaba fish, many other creatures. And of course, closer to home here in Hawaii, we have our own connection to extinction, the American Bird Conservancy calling Hawaii the bird extinction capital of the world, our own Department of Land and Natural Resources website acknowledging some conservationists call Hawaii the endangered species capital of the world. 100 plant taxa are extinct, 366 are classified as endangered. And that is the setup for August 13th and 14th, next Tuesday and Wednesday, as conservation in the Aloha State is going to get a big boost from musician Paul Simon. Over 2 days, he's going to be donating all of the net proceeds from a pair of shows at the MAC to the Auahi Forest Restoration Project and Kua'aina Ulu Au'amo, which is also known as KUA. Tickets went on sale in June, but some remain. And of note regarding this very special event, according to the press release that goes along with it, Paul has never played Maui, and only once in Honolulu, it says, back in '68 at the HIC, now the Blaisdell. We are going to set the record straight with the man himself, hear more about these shows, as we welcome the one and only Paul Simon to All Things Considered. Hey, Paul, big hugs, high fives, mahalos. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Nice introduction.
Thank you. And it's great to be bringing the message of conservation to the air again. We talk about it a lot on the show. And
I thought you described the situation very well. In fact, as far as the conservation of species is concerned, it goes far deeper and into the conservation of species that most people are not even familiar with. I mean, when the species are large, like rhinos or giraffes or elephants or big creatures, we all get very, very nervous and concerned. But the small, tiny species that are essential to the makeup of an ecosystem, the extinction of those species is an even greater danger and less likely to be talked about. Once an ecosystem is severely damaged, it's very hard to you can't bring back an extinct species. And once you have one ecosystem damaged, then it's the neighboring ecosystem that becomes weakened, and a chain of events can occur that could be an environmental catastrophe, as we know.
It's a very good point. And as I was introducing it, so I said there are a lot of things that, and that's great what you mentioned. Sometimes people know about the more charismatic or larger megafauna, as the larger creatures are called, but then there are a lot of smaller ones that go beneath the cracks. One that we talk about frequently on the show, pangolins. Most people in America don't even know what a pangolin is, yet it's the most trafficked mammal on Earth and headed for a fast extinction over myths. And so sometimes, and there are various, it's also interesting what you point out, there are different things that are causing some of these crises. Sometimes it's man expanding into places in such a ferocious pace that the environment can't keep up with it. Other times it's trash and pollution, whether it's like our plastics in the ocean, that's another way that we're doing it, or you have consumption, rampant consumption based on myths that a certain kind of product like rhino horn or a pangolin scale will do something for you. Or in the case of Hawaii, we have kind of like a confluence of things.
Invasive species.
Right.
In Hawaii, you have
exactly.
a serious issue of invasive species that have, as is often the case, have driven out, the native plant life. And part of what I'm interested in doing is, especially working with Art Medeiros on the Auahi Forest Restoration Project, is he's working on bringing back the indigenous trees and plants that covered Maui and are now down to, according to what Art tells me, are now down to about 2% of what they used to be. So he's actually rebuilding forests and has been doing it for about 15 years. And he's successful at it, and we can do that. And we've become friends, and I'm a big supporter of what he's doing. And if anybody wants to further investigate what he's up to, his name is Art Medeiros, and he gave a very, very interesting TED Talk a few years ago that I'm sure you can bring up, either out of TED or Google or whatever. But he explains things in a very clear way.
Oh yeah, well, what they're doing is a remarkable effort, and it's very volunteer driven, and we'll get into a little bit about actually the ways that people listening can themselves pick up the mantle, and because through volunteerism is how the Auahi Forest Restoration Project has pulled off most of the magic that they're doing over on the Valley Isle. Let's dial in on yourself, though, the way you talk about this with such passion. Speak, first of all, from the press release, it sounds like you've been spending some time over there, which is maybe how you gathered this passion. It kind of set the stage for how it is that this guy who's never played on Maui suddenly has all this interest in protecting the forest over there and so much knowledge about it.
Well, my intense interest in the subject really comes from E.O. Wilson, Ed Wilson, who has a foundation called the Half Earth Foundation, and I started supporting them about 4 years ago. I did a tour and I gave all the proceeds to his foundation. His book, Half Earth, is very informative. And from there were other organizations that I became involved with. The Nature Conservancy would come to mind. And on the last tour that I did, every town that I played, I left a gift, a thank you gift in the town for some environmental group. But on Maui, it's very clear to me that Art's project is really worth investing in, and the same with Kua and bringing people from the community together and volunteers that come to work. It's all connected, and on the mainland the same thing. With some kind of concerted effort, maybe we could have fixed the water problem in Flint, Michigan, which still continues. Years after it should have. It's just I don't know. You know how upset you can get about this ignoring of the environmental consequences of global warming and pollution and just human indifference because of greed. So this is a fight for the future of our children, our grandchildren, and it just seems like common sense. We have to do this because the price for not doing it is going to be enormous. Price is going to be enormous anyway, but to make sure that it's not an absolute catastrophic bill that nature hands to us, we have to get to work on this immediately with full attention.
Yeah, it's very true. And when they do that forest restoration, one of the neat things is, when you talk about the invasive species causing havoc in Hawaii, a lot of the damage here, and I kind of said it when introducing you, has been in bird populations. And so I can imagine that, and again, we're talking to Paul Simon, who's got this pair of shows at the MAC on the 13th and 14th, next Tuesday and Wednesday, and all of the net proceeds are going to be going into local conservation, undoubtedly benefiting a lot of bird species. Are birds a favorite animal of yours or one of the passion marks for you?
Are birds one of my... No, I hate birds.
Yeah.
Of course I'm kidding. No, of course. Everybody loves birds, except vultures. But they got to eat too. Everything, we now know that everything is connected to everything. Every body is connected. Every living thing is connected to every other living thing. And the closer we get to preserving what has been this absolute paradise of a planet, a jewel, the better off we'll be. This has been working for our species for a couple of 100,000 years, and if we let it change, the penalty is going to be almost unimaginable.
Yeah, they have a lot of ways, though, that people are going to be able to tap into helping both in supporting by getting tickets to the show. But in addition to that, the Oahe Forest Restoration Project, kind of like public radio and many critical nonprofits, they're fueled by volunteers. Will they be there?
Yes, they are.
I was just going to say, will they be there at your show speaking or talking, kind of recruiting, giving people the heads up on the volunteer opportunities?
They'll have booths set up there. So you'll be able to get information from them.
And that's a great way to like double load at your show, right? It's like a 2-barrel approach, because not only are you going to be able to raise funds, but I'm imagining by the end of that night, they're going to have more volunteers.
I would imagine that would be so. Yeah, sure. It's so compelling, and the awareness is spreading, and Art is a very articulate spokesperson for the Forest Restoration Project, and it's succeeding. And it's not just beginning now. It's been going on now and succeeding. So it's actually quite encouraging in an environment where there's not that many things that you can look at and say this is encouraging.
Right. That's a good point. Paul, how'd you pick these organizations with so many people trying to do good and such a serious amount of crises relating to the environment around the world? What made you dial in on these guys?
Well, with Art. What happened was I just took a trip to the botanical gardens, and from there I started to be interested in the indigenous plants, and went up to a nursery in Haiku that Anna Palomino ran and runs, and she, amongst many others, all said you'll have to meet Art Medeiros. And what I like about it, aside from the logic of it, the scientific logic about it, is it's not in the world of politics. It has nothing to do with one party or the other party. It has to do with the entire planet. Every living thing is a partner in this. There's no division, no big argument. Everybody wants to keep living, and everybody wants to, that's what we want. That's what we want. We don't want to see some kind of mass extinction, and we don't even want to entertain the thought of a worst case scenario. So it's absolutely a benign way of doing what we really must do immediately.
And now for folks who are going to be hearing your call, taking advantage of this, I guess for folks listening to Paul, it's really a two-prong, and that's why artists like you do this. People love your music, they're fans of yours, so they want to come, and at the same time, you're able to tap their fandom and turn it into a philanthropic effort that you both do at the end of the day. And when you do a special event like this, and again, this is coming after you've done your farewell tour, what are the songs that you want to play, or how does your musical repertoire work into a very special event like these two shows?
The songs that I haven't performed since I stopped last year, so essentially I'm drawing on the same material that I used on the last tour, changing the order around, maybe fooling around with some of the arrangements, but I haven't had enough time to introduce something that I didn't do last time around. A lot of the songs seem to be, even the older ones seem to be relevant to the environment that we're in right now. So, maybe it's not exactly the time to sing "Feeling Groovy."
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can't have an enjoyment and have a celebration, a musical celebration, and let the night be something that's pleasurable, and know that there's still something that's being done on an environmental level because of the proceeds that have been generated by the night. But otherwise, I'm just approaching it like a music night. It's not a lecture. I don't have to tell anybody how important all of this is. Everybody really knows.
Yeah, and also, as the press release for these events said, you are no longer touring, and since that 2018 farewell tour did not come here, some fans may not even, without hearing about it right now, realize the significance of these shows, because you basically just said you haven't done a gig since that tour ended. So is it basically the same musicians, or who's going to be playing with you at this?
Yes, it's the same band. Luckily, I have my same band, and
give them a little plug, like what people can expect.
Oh, well, let's see. There's the longest collaborator with me in the band is Bagiti Kumalo, who played on Graceland. He was the bass player. He comes from Soweto, and he's the first. He's been with me since we made the record Graceland and on all the tours. So he's the oldest member of the band in terms of years with me. The newest members are a group called Y Music. They're a neoclassical sextet. It's 3 strings, clarinet, flute, and French horn trumpet. And they do the Magritte song and Can't Run But, and they're part of Bridge Over Troubled Water. So there's a bit wider variety of sounds that I can draw upon now that I have a classical sextet to play. Not that the arrangements that they're playing are what you would call typically. Well, I don't know what they're neoclassical, so they're kind of hip classical arrangements. And the other is like our accordionist Joel Guzman. He's from Austin. He comes with a deep knowledge of Tex-Mex music and Zydeco. Our drummer is from Nashville. Our percussionist plays everything, studied in India. Our guitarist is from Nigeria. One of them is from Nigeria, Biodun Kuti. He's the youngest and the newest member of the band. Mark Stewart, who plays seemingly every instrument. He's been with me for a long time. He plays guitar, cello, flute, saxophone. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out. Oh, me. Yeah, I've been there all the time. Yeah.
I don't know if there's enough room on the stage for all you guys, Paul. I'm like keeping track over here. It sounds like you're going to be out in the crowd with some of this.
We'll cram on the stage one way or the other. We'll be okay. We'll be fine. It's really fun to be back after having all this time off, and the songs came back, and they were all very well documented, so we can go back to shows that we did in case
get the arrangements.
Check something up. Yeah, in case we want to check something in the arrangement or change something in the arrangement or anything like that. It's been pretty easy. We've been for most of us, we've been a band for almost 20 years, some longer, and the thing is, what's exciting is for me to play in Maui.
Oh, well, of course.
As you said, I haven't been there. I mean, now I'm a resident, and now I get a chance to come and say thank you. You know, I'm very grateful to be able to spend time on a island that I've come to love. I have friends there, and I'm really very excited to come and play.
Did you just say resident? Have you moved here like part-time?
Yeah. I am a part-time resident.
Part-time, Ina, we will call you.
Yeah, you can.
I love that. Well, that's a very couple things though. Before I forget about it, when you were running down the band, did you say somebody from Nigeria with the last name Kuti is in the band? That's not. You don't have one of Fela's.
Yeah. He's not related to Fela.
Okay, just double checking because
I guess. Yeah, no, he's not really. I think it's must be a
common name.
Relatively common. Yeah,
kind of like Smith or something. Well, that's
a Nigerian Smith.
Right, there you go. That's one of the questions I had. And then the other one, when you were running down that set, it really like this light bulb came to mind. A couple things did, but one of them is at times in the past, because I think about the intimate nature of the show, and there's such an important message is getting out there. Just even when you're not talking about it, it'll just be kind of seeping out there subconsciously. But sometimes when I've seen you, I think it was at Madison Square Garden, the Rock Hall 25 shows. When you may have even just stood there with a guitar and played solo. It's sort of riveting. Are you going to ever do something like that where you just strip it down at this show and it's just like you standing there?
I usually end the shows by myself with a guitar. You know, I don't always pick the same song, but I usually end up singing one or two songs just with the guitar.
That's poignant, and that'll be nice at this kind of event too. And with the two different shows, are you going to play different stuff each night, or do you have like a tight thing all worked out that you guys do?
Well, I want to do at least one show with Keola Beamer as my guest.
Wow.
And the other show, if Edie and I can learn a song, we'll do something. And since we don't have any particular time limits on us, we might go and do stuff that we hadn't really practiced and just fall into it and see where it goes. It should be. I think that night will be, enough of a party night that we can go wherever we want and let the mood of the evening envelop all of us and let it go wherever it's going.
That's hip, and Edie coming along, posting about Edie Brickell, who had that massive late '80s hit. What I Am, is that the name of that? What was the name of that incredible song?
Right.
What I Am. You're gonna break that? Are you gonna break that thing out, Paul, or what?
No,
okay.
She wouldn't let me.
All right, I love that jam. Every time I hear that on the talk about nostalgia, boy, But you mentioned something else really important about these shows, and there's a lot of sense of community in Hawaii in general. You don't even have to be doing something as righteous as this sort of benefit that Paul has gotten into to get guests up on stage. And Paul already just said he's going to have Keola Beamer, kind of dropping a little advanced surprise on us. When it comes to all those other musicians who live over there and maybe coming out for the gig, or maybe you've got more surprises up your sleeve, Mr. Simon, I'm not sure, but who else might show up?
I don't know who's on the island then,
Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper's there. Steven Tyler. Pat Simmons from the Doobies. Michael McDonald.
Pat Simmons and Michael McDonald are friends, but I don't know if they're there then. Willie lives there, and
Sammy Hagar.
I don't know Sammy Hagar.
Carlos Santana, he lives there.
Oh, wow, that would be fabulous. But again, of the people that I know, I don't know if they're there, but if they're there and they show up and, they sure can play. So, and I guess anything is, anything is possible. The only thing is like we get there and I've only got just the sound check to rehearse.
Yeah.
So I can't get into any elaborate thing, but with those people, you could just sort of leave them alone and let them play. I just let the night unfold the way it wants to unfold.
It's going to be a beautiful thing, and that's great that you got the Keola Beamer sitting in with you. Any other scheduled little surprises like that you're holding back on?
No, if I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise.
Exactly right. Now you got to hold something back, Paul. You got to hold something back like that. No, I appreciate it, and it's going to be a very, very special event for folks. And 2 shows, 2 big nights, August 13th and 14th, with new resident of the state, Paul Simon, giving back conservation here, Oahe Forest Restoration Project in Kua'aina, Ulu, Auamo. How long have you been living here now, Paul? Roughly.
Couple of years.
All right. And did I have it right in the beginning when I introduced you? Only one time ever in Honolulu, all the way back in '68.
Yeah.
Now, how could that be?
I played it with Artie.
Wow.
And I think that was my first time. Why? That's a good question. You know, I mean, what it really is it's usually I'm traveling with pretty big bands, and so it's a big trip to get that, to come there, bring everybody, get the equipment, play the place. Usually you go to Honolulu. Here I'm, on Maui because that's where I live. So it's about Maui. I mean, of course it's generally about the conservation in Hawaii, but it's a way of me saying thank you.
No, it's a wonderful thing.
Aloha, everybody. It's Paul Simon. I was a guest right here with my friend Dave Lawrence.
You're the man. I appreciate it, brother. I'm giving you a hug and a high five. I hope you had fun. Was that okay?
Yeah, that was fine. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Best of luck with the shows, Paul. Proud of you for doing some good, and welcome to the islands. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.